Good morning. Good to see you all. My name is Kisei Sensei. I'm one of the teachers here. I trained at Great Vow for about 12 years and left a couple years ago. And I came up, there was a weekend gathering of the teachers from the Zen community of Oregon, people who trained with Chozen and Hogen either at Heart of Wisdom Zen Temple in Portland or at the monastery. So it was like a little family reunion. For those of you who know them, Soten and Shanae and Jogen were all here, and the four of us trained together for about a decade, living full-time at the monastery, ordained. And this is the first time in 4 years that we had all been in the same place. So there's something special about that. So I'm also here because we're having the Grasses and Trees session, which is one of the special kinds of retreats that we do here where it evolved. Chozen Roshi started this session where she really wanted us to experience the intimacy with nature and letting nature be a teacher. Letting the trees, the grasses, the ground, the sky, the earth, the flowers, all express and teach us the Dharma. So we used to kind of alternate from going inside and outside, sitting in the zendo and then getting to go and sit on the grounds and in the forest at night. And then during the pandemic, the first retreat that we hosted was this Grasses and Trees session, and we thought, let's just do the whole thing outside. That way we can have an in-person event and not spread COVID. And it worked so well that we were like, let's always do this retreat completely outside. So we make a zendo outside, and then we really are exposed to the elements the whole week and really working with what comes up as you're with a little more variability, but also this kind of opening to the teachings of the natural world and becoming nature. So some of you might wonder, what do Zen teachers get together and talk about? We talk about you. No. Sometimes the worry, No, it was a very rich meeting, rich conversation. I think Hogan said at one point, combined, it was 400 years of Dharma practice, which is pretty special. I can't remember how many people were there. I was going to say 18, but that was probably a little exaggeration. 15. And during this particular meeting, a subject came up that comes up regularly. And the way it was phrased during this meeting was, what are the paths of practice in ZCO? Which opens a bigger question of what is the path of practice? A question that Zen teachers have been, I wouldn't say debating, but talking about since, Buddhist practitioners have been talking about since the time of the Buddha. What is the path of practice? And in this question, which is part of why I think the question arises, is it's full of paradox. It's full of paradox. If you have any familiarity with the Zen stories or Zen teachings, you'll hear this question posed to teachers or teachers talking this question over in koan dialogue or in recorded sayings of the teachers. So at one point, Joshu asked his teacher, Nansen, what is the way? What is the path? And Nansen said, ordinary mind. Another time, a student asked a teacher, well, what is Zen? And the teacher said, a dried shit stick. And that another time, a student asked the teacher, what is Zen? and they pointed to the oak tree in the garden. And so this question is a living question. And that was part of the conversation we were having. It's a living question. What is the path? Am I on it? Can I do it right? Can I do it wrong? Am I doing it wrong? I'm probably doing it wrong. And like, how do we articulate what we're doing? How do we articulate what we're doing in a way that we understand that this is a path of maturation, a path of development, but it's also a path of organic immediacy. It's a non-linear path. Another Zen saying is, go straight on a mountain road with 99 curves. This path is a path we walk step by step, moment by moment. It includes every aspect of our life. So looking around the room at all the teachers and Dharma holders of ZCO, you can see that each person's path is unique. Our paths combined are diverse. Some people had paths that included children or multiple careers. Others of us, including myself and Soten and Shanae and Jogen, spent over a decade in monastic training. Here at Great Vow, maybe you can consider us professional meditators. And then even those of us who trained here, our paths very unique, our skill sets, our interests, the content of our hearts and minds and life experience, naturally quite different. Some of us worked on koans, some of us spent years learning concentration, some of us deepening into open awareness, most of us a combination of all of those practices, including loving kindness. And then the expression, some of us worked more on the administrative side, some of us spent most of our time outside working on the grounds. Then, of course, combinations of that. So it's clear that the path of practice and spiritual maturity, the path of maturation, must include, for each of us, must include our own wholehearted engagement with the stuff of our lives. Our hearts, our minds, our intentions, our moods, our responsibilities, our roles, whatever is coming up, whatever you have committed to, whatever you are responsible for, that is part of your path to spiritual maturity. And in Zen, we sometimes use a framework to describe the path of practice, involving what's called the 3 pillars of Zen, which are great faith, great determination, and great doubt. And you can consider this like guidelines, a container in which to help us actualize the stuff of our lives as a path of spiritual transformation. And I would say that although the lives of each of the teachers and Dharma holders in the Zen community of Oregon have been very unique in their flavor and expression, the 3 pillars of Zen is something that we all have in common. And probably you could say that each of us, as Zen practitioners, however you put yourself in that identity, also have these 3 qualities. So great faith. Zen doesn't ask us to blindly believe dogma, but does make some pretty radical propositions about who and what we are. Propositions that may, for many of us, push up against basic assumptions that we have been conditioned to believe. Propositions like, you are Buddha. You are Buddha. We are Buddha. We are awake. kindness, clarity, openness. It's our basic nature. Does that push up against any beliefs? Anything you've been told or you tell yourself in your mind? Zen also proposes that we aren't who we think we are. That thoughts, which we often take as the ground of our being, and what I mean by that is we often have a thought and then we build upon that thought, or we have a sense of, I am here, I want the Dharma talk to end, I want to have lunch, I need this in order to be happy. Like that becomes the foundation of who we think we are. Or fixed beliefs like, I'm not good enough, I'm too much, I'll never get it right, I don't know what to do. And then we build a whole world off of that belief. And what Zen offers or proposes is that those beliefs aren't who we are. That there's space beyond those beliefs. That's actually a more fundamental ground. Call that the ground of being, spacious awareness. And we can know this groundless ground as our ground. We can know the spaciousness of our mind's nature that's more inclusive than any thought, and build our home there. Let that be the foundation of who we are. It's the ground of mind, the spacious ground of mind accepts everything. And it's the heart of each and every one of us. So that's part of what great faith is inviting. It's inviting that, yes, we have all these thoughts, we have all these reactions, we have all these beliefs, and they're flimsy. They don't actually protect us, although they may have in the past. They're the best we could do in certain situations. We took them on in order to stay safe or make sense of the world. And there's something more fundamental that you can take refuge in, and that you probably are already taking refuge in. So faith in Buddhism or in Zen is saying yes to the mystery of being, to unknowing. It is allowing uncertainty or possibility. Could say faith is stepping off the 100-foot pole, being in our minds, into the direct experience of our lives, into the breath, into the body, into seeing, hearing, feeling, being in relationship. It's embracing this process of coming to know ourselves more completely, of coming home to ourselves, our true selves, our Buddha nature. Faith is the heart of the Bodhisattva vow. These seeming impossible intentions we are invited to align ourselves with. The growing confidence that we too can awaken. That everything in our life is the life of the Buddha. Is here to teach us. So some of us are in touch with this faith perhaps from the moment we are born, like Heart over there. Or from an early age, we just always knew, there's something else, something more. We've been oriented towards the mystery of being. And others, perhaps it deepens, faith deepens, or trust Trust is a synonym for faith in this context. Deepens through experience. Like something in us had enough trust to come here, to take up meditation, to enter residency, to do a retreat if you've done a retreat. We try it out. We experience the practice of meditation with our own bodies, breath, hearts, minds. We taste the openness and ungraspability of the present moment, the unfindability of this sense of separation that we call myself. And through those little tastes, little tastes maybe of quiet mind, of pure awareness, faith deepens, trust deepens. We are more and more okay with not knowing or not having to know, not having to have a response or an answer all pre-planned before we do the next thing. More faith, more trust in our own capacity to do this practice. More faith, more trust in the completeness of who we are. Then we have great determination. One remarkable quality that all the teachers in our Sangha have in common is that we continued. Could say that that's not such a great quality, but it's pretty remarkable. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. And there are times, I'm sure that all of us wanted to run screaming out of the zendo, or leave residency, or leave a retreat, or fire our teachers. Hogan said he's been fired many times. And yet these people kept coming back to the practice. While faith is one ingredient in continuing, so is this ability to persevere, this determination to take the next step, to face the ordinary challenges of our lives, and instead of running away or quitting or looking for something else, we learn to ask, how can I practice with this? How can practice support me here? What is a teaching I can turn to? For the past year and a half, I've been involved in a comprehensive training program in Hakomi, which is a somatic-based therapeutic modality. And one of my teachers in that training trained with Thich Nhat Hanh in the 70s, and she's part of the Order of Interbeing as well as being a Hakomi trainer. And at some point in her practice life as a therapist and as a Zen practitioner, she became really interested in the process of transformation, and was asking herself, like, how come some people engage with spiritual practice or engage with this deep therapeutic modality she was trained in and seem to have major transformations. Their lives take a different trajectory, and other people don't. And she was like a little puzzled by that and curious. And so she underwent some research and found that the people who had transformational experiences got stuck. That was the ingredient. They got stuck at some point in their journey and continued. And there's something there. Getting stuck in and continuing means finding a way to invite new energy in. It's like we can't keep doing the old way. It's not working. And so sometimes, that could be we're doing our breath practice and we've been doing it this particular way for so long, and then we just start to feel stuck. It's like, oh, maybe there's a belief in there, maybe there's an expectation in there, maybe something else needs to come in. It often shows us that something about how we're approaching practice or our lives isn't working anymore. And so it invites us to tap into our deeper reserves, a larger motivation, a more inclusive view, a creative, perhaps, response. And to examine the assumptions we're making, the expectations we have. So much of being stuck means we're hitting against some limiting belief. Maybe a belief about our own capacity, maybe a belief about what's supposed to happen in practice, maybe some other belief about how someone else is supposed to change. So often when we get stuck, in order to continue, we need to have someone we can trust that we can turn to, who can help guide us, push us perhaps deeper into the experience. Sometimes we feel stuck because we're kind of tiptoeing around, trying to stay safe instead of really plunging in, and we don't quite have the faith for that. And someone else, a teacher, can help create the container between the two of us that you can enter more fully in. Can help hold us as we fall apart a little bit and then help put us back together. Because that's part of the transformation process, is however that looks, it looks different for everyone at different times, but there's an element of falling apart, coming undone, being turned inside out. Having a teacher is an essential part of Zen practice. And that's something else that all of the teachers in the Zen community of Oregon have in common. We had a deep relationship with our teachers, Chosen and Hogan. Spiritual practice is messy. Sometimes we think, oh, our ordinary life is messy. I want to do spiritual practice so I can clean it up. But because spiritual practice inevitably invites us to include everything, including all the messy stuff about being human, we eventually hit messy spots. And working with another person who is further along on the path, who we trust, can also be extremely messy. Because we're human. And we have a tendency to project onto others. We have a tendency to enter relationships and want to be liked or seen a particular way, or want them to validate us or tell us how right we are. And the job of a Zen teacher, which makes this relationship so unique, is their job is to help us free ourselves from our projections, from our need for approval, from our obsession with being right or validated. So it's not safe for the ego, this kind of relationship. And it takes time to build this kind of relationship. A relationship where there's enough trust that the teacher is really here to help you awaken. And that enough trust that your reactivity is something that can be examined, allowed, and even seen through. And that there is a freedom that is more enduring than any belief or view or strategy. So working with a teacher, you build together a sacred vessel between the two of you that allows spiritual transformation to happen. Great determination also invites commitment. A commitment to awakening, a commitment to practice, a commitment to Sangha. It's one of the 3 refuges, 3 jewels, and a commitment to your relationship with the teacher. We sometimes call, or oftentimes call, commitment a vow. And it's through honoring our commitments that we grow in depth and spiritual maturity. We need that container, that pressure. It's part of great determination. And commitment's an interesting word these days. We live in an age where you can probably go online right now and find 1 million Dharma talks, maybe billions of Dharma talks. I don't know. There's a lot of teachers posting their Dharma talks online. Where we also live in a time where there are destination-based retreat centers or retreat offerings. You can go to Hawaii and do a 10-day retreat. You can go to Colorado and do a 5-day mountain retreat. You can do a 3-month retreat with this teacher. There's tens of thousands of different teachers that we can study with. So making a commitment to a path of practice and a teacher can seem daunting. And yet it's a necessary form of renunciation. And renunciation is a big part of the Buddhist path, and sometimes can feel like a bad word in our society where we're so used to getting anything that we want, and if it's not working here, I'll just go here, and if it's not working there, I'll just go here. So to make a commitment means, oh, I'm not going to just do that all the time. I'm going to pick up a practice, I'm going to work with a teacher, and I'm going to create that vessel that allows for transformation, allows me to stay when it gets uncomfortable, when I feel stuck, when it's not going the way I think it should, because that usually means it's going the way it needs to in order for you to find liberation. But again, we need trust there in order to stay. And then we have great doubt. Buddhist practice, Zen practice, is a path that includes inquiry. We have to be willing to question our basic assumptions about reality, to look into the nature of the heart and mind. Great doubt can be translated as great curiosity. And I would say that great curiosity or curiosity is essential for practice on a lot of different levels. So in order for concentration to deepen, we need to access curiosity, unlock curiosity. In order for insight to open up, we need curiosity. In order to live and engage life in relationship with others, curiosity is a really helpful ingredient. To actually be interested in other people, to be interested in views that are different than your views, experiences that are different than your experiences. Curiosity in Zen is different from the curiosity of opening a lot of tabs on your computer browser or going down rabbit holes of mental wanderings. There's a curiosity that we cultivate in Zazen that's embodied. That's embodied curiosity. And that in and of itself can take some time to learn, to find. Because we're used to, curiosity means I just think about it. And I can think. My mind can think about a lot of things. But this kind of curiosity is more this curiosity of really getting interested. Or Chosen was saying during the teachers' meeting, like falling in love with our practice. That kind of curiosity, the kind of curiosity of, I really want to get to know this, or get to know you, breath, listening practice, body. So whatever your practice is, curiosity can help us deepen into, well, what does the bottom of the exhale actually feel like? How long can I linger there until the next inhalation comes naturally? Or can I hear the sound of the birds and that gentle rustling at the same time? Or can I hear without labels? Or does hearing happen inside or outside? Just sounds arise inside or outside? And so if we think about those things, we don't actually experience them. But if we invite that kind of curiosity, then we're invited into the actual experience of listening or the actual experience of breathing. And so that kind of curiosity deepens our concentration and can allow for our attention to stay with the moment by moment passing, arising and passing, changing, ever changing experience of the present moment through breath or through sound or through body, leading to a more stable awareness, which is basically what concentration is. Curiosity also allows us to look into the nature of experience, to notice what beliefs, thoughts, emotions actually feel like in our bodies, to have a felt sense of how our attention can contract around a single thought or around this pervasive sense of I am, I want. And curiosity allows us to ask, well, what are thoughts even made of? What is this experience of thinking made of? Or this experience of I am? Does it have a location? What sensations make up that feeling sense of I am? And is there space around it? Space around those sensations, between sensations of thought, body, emotion, mind? Do those sensations come and go? Curiosity with faith and determination allows insight to unfold. And insight unfolds in the non-linear way that is human life, that is this spiritual path. This path isn't linear. We can sit down for a period of meditation, and sometimes it feels more kind of granular, like building up this capacity to stay. And sometimes it can feel like, oh, I just sit down and I'm present, here. Or I've had days of experiences of being able to concentrate deeply, and now my mind is scattered. And that's the path. It's not linear. It doesn't mean, oh, now you're doing something wrong. It's just, okay, what practice do you have that can meet that experience? And just letting it unfold, meeting what's arising. One insight that continuously arises in this path of practice is, I can't grasp a hold of anything. So maybe non-grasping is the way. When I entered training at Great Vow, I had a mystics orientation. I definitely did not come here to become a Zen teacher. And maybe I recommend that for all of you. If you're coming here to be a Zen teacher, put that on the back burner. and let like the passion for the practice or the inquiry into what is this? Or the determination to really see through the suffering created from the grasping mind. Let that lead you. Or the vow to really free all beings, awaken with all beings together. I came to practice really to do sesshin. I'd fallen in love with Zazen and what I could describe then and now as the dark mystery of being. I was interested in the question of who are we? Still, even more so interested in the question of what is this? And like many people, my own path, I thought I had to make awakening happen. I had to make these 3 things happen. Okay, where can I get my determination? I'll show you I have determination. I'll sit hard. I'll strive hard. But one positive quality I had was I had enough faith to put myself into the commitment of ordination, which in our tradition involves service to the Sangha, sesshin practice, and a deep apprenticeship with the teachers. And through the temenos of the monastery, we learn non-grasping. Every expectation for what we think is going to happen eventually is taken away. And a deeper faith develops in this ever-changing ground of being. We develop a flexibility of heart. And instead of building a house on faulty thoughts, we familiarize ourselves with the spaciousness that is our nature. So we bring our whole selves to this path of practice, and the path unfolds, just one step at a time. So you could say there is no path but the living of our lives, and that the Dharma teachings, relationship with Sangha and teachers, give us some structure on this pathless path, something we can turn towards that support us. So I'll end there, and I'm curious if anybody has any questions or reflections or anything you want to share about your own path or practice. Yeah, microphone.
I really appreciated your reflections on doubt, and I was wondering, it seems to me possible that you can make wrong choices, and I am currently struggling with this in terms of choosing a path, or choosing a teacher, or choosing a Sangha, and it seems like this dilemma of choice is the root of that problem.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I feel that sometimes doubt is very skillful, but I guess I'm wondering what the boundaries of that are. And what this embodied feeling of trust, or how this embodied feeling of trust can actually supersede doubt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I've heard that you know when you know if your teacher is right. But I've never experienced that knowing, so there's still this perpetual doubt. And I'm wondering if you could speak to that.
Yeah. I think it was sometimes it could be helpful to look at, do I have some expectation that there's going to be this just perfect, harmonious, like, yes, I found my soulmate teacher. I found my, sometimes we carry around some ideal that actually isn't humanly possible. And so maybe one thing I could say is, when looking for a teacher, and we were talking about this, it can be helpful to meet many different teachers and also to feel the community in which the teacher created and the senior students, and just feel like, oh, like, okay, here are kind of the product of people who've practiced this path for a while. How do I feel around them? Do I have some trust that this path is a path that I want to follow? And then trust is, sometimes built with a teacher. Is there enough trust here? Is there enough that I trust this person to guide my practice? I can come to them when I'm feeling doubt or confusion, and I trust how they're meeting me. And for some of us, if we've been harmed, like that can take a long time to really feel like, oh, I can really trust this other human being to walk with me on this path.
Have you experienced like some kind of stuckness, elongated period in your practice, and what did you do about it, and what was it like coming out of it?
Yeah, I feel really grateful that I made a commitment to living at the monastery. Shortly after one of my 1-year commitments, I went through a period of sesshin that were just horrible, like really hard. And part of what I was coming up against was big expectations. Big expectations of like, I should have a quiet mind by now, or I should have had some verification of enlightenment experience by now, or it should have looked this particular way. And I was just hitting all of this, just tension and restlessness in my body and mind. And I was grateful that I had made this commitment to the monastery, because I might have left. I might have just said, oh, this isn't working, what else is there? But it allowed me to also appreciate that sometimes we have a lot of really difficult sesshin experiences, and that part of that maybe is helping see through particular expectations, or just move through what needs to be released or seen through more clearly, that we're holding in our bodies and minds. This process of Zazen has a purificatory nature to it. It's like a releasing. Sometimes Chosen would refer to sesshin as a psychic surgery. And we can say, yeah, I want that. And then we're in the midst of it and we're like, what is this? What's going on here? But to get to clarify vows in the midst of that, to get to lean into the support of Sangha and friends on the path, having other people who are at different stages of the path that we're practicing together at the monastery was so helpful for me. And I can't say like what changed, but something changed over time. And I think it has something to do with grasping and non-grasping. Like just really learning on this bodily level what non-grasping is. Because we have so much habit in body, heart, and mind to grasp, to identify, to tell a story about, to try to get validation, and really to learn to trust on this deep foundational level that everything is flowing, everything is changing, nothing is fixed. It's pretty amazing.
You mentioned when you came to the monastery, you had this mystic orientation, or whatever that term was that you used. Can you talk about what that was when you came and how that's changed over time, if it has, if you still identify with that curiosity?
Yeah, I feel like the monastery is a great place for mystics. We do so much zazen. For me, what was it? A yearning for the mystery. Just, I feel like, and this still feels true, I could sit in zazen forever and still be curious. I could do sesshin over and over and over and over again and still just like touch into this deep curiosity that, yeah, just gazing into the mystery, gazing into this experience of self, no self, self, no self, feeling into just the wonder and miracle of life, and a kind of devotion for that. And I did leave the monastery. I felt like there was some personhood development that also wanted to happen, but that is very much a core of my particular orientation. And not everybody who is a Zen practitioner has like a deep mystical calling. And that's okay. You can do this path with whatever material you have, because there's so many expressions, and you're not going to be Hogen or Chosen or Kisei or Onshin. You're going to be you. And so whatever we bring to the path becomes part of our expression and becomes part of, what we get to release, let go of, and then use and not be used by.
I heard in a talk once that like our faith or our vow is like this raging fire, and our desire to like hide under the covers or be comfortable is actually like just a candle flame in comparison to that. And it struck me because it feels like the opposite, like a lot of the time. And I think about that, like, wow, it just feels like a raging fire. Like I just want to be comfortable. And when that feels like it's outshining my desire and faith, I'm wondering, like in those moments of like, man, I just want to get under the covers. Like if you have any words of wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, two things. One, I would say there is a gradualness to this process, and we do like learn to bring those parts more on board, and for those parts to start to see that actually this process is way safer than hiding under the covers. So that happens, and I think that's part of the building of faith. And then there's like the cultivation of vow and the recollection of, wait, why am I doing this? Which I find helpful to call in during sesshin, because from my experience of residency, there would come a point of sesshin where I would remember, well, I'm going to do this next month anyway, so maybe I put in enough effort and I could just be comfortable for the rest of this retreat. And so to meet that edge and see, like, oh, can I play this edge when it comes up, and see, like, where is my more sustaining vow? And maybe that's remembering that I'm practicing for others, with others. And sometimes that's what opens it up for me. So we're at time.